So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. So let's talk about firing someone in Argentina. This is part of my series on comparative labor across the world. Here I'm going to be comparing Argentina's termination processes to the United States. They're different, of course, and so it's something that I find to be very interesting and unique. So I will be comparing the two. So with that, employers may dismiss any number of employees at any time. There's no legal obligation to keep people, but if you do a whole lot of dismissals all at once, you may have to inform the proper authorities, and that is very similar to the WARN Act. In the WARN Act, if you dismiss a certain portion of your workforce, you do have to notify both the local, state, and potentially federal jurisdictions with respect to departments of labor and so forth. And so it's one of those things that's important to know. By the way, this article is from Perez, Aladi, Grandona, Benitez, and Arnson. They're employment law or an employment law in law firm in Argentina. Take a look at the link down below if you'd like to know more about this. So dismissals seem you can basically do it without cause, but you do have to do a severance payment, and that is 1 month's salary for every year worked, and a further month for any part of the year that exceeds 3 months. So if someone's worked 3 years and 4 months, then they have to pay 4 months worth of salary. That's a lot, I think, and that is pretty significant. Of course, American labor law does not require this, and so it is not. There is no requirement for this at all. Many people think that severance is required in the United States. It's not. I think that this is an interesting perspective. It is pretty. It's somewhat unique. I think it's pretty significant, but a lot of European countries have something similar. If you don't give notice, then the employee, before someone is terminated, then the employee is entitled to receive compensation amounting to 15 days salary. So effectively 2 weeks worth of salary if you're not giving notice. And then it goes up if you've put in more than 5 years, et cetera. There's no cap on it, but it's supposed to be reflect the normal income of the employee. And as a result, they also have to talk about the 13th month of salary, which is down. We're going to talk about that. They're going to get the full salary. So in the month of their dismissal, an employee is entitled to receive the full salary regardless. So I think in theory, if you were wanting to fire someone in Argentina, you would wait. I mean, unless they are absolutely terrible, you wait to the end of the month because you have to pay the full month no matter what. In addition, they get paid for the holidays and everything else with it, which I find to be pretty interesting. And, you know, the other thing that they get is a 13th month of salary. That's very similar to Asia, specifically Southeast Asia. There's a 13th month bonus in countries like Cambodia and Vietnam. Of course, there is no 13th month bonus in the United States. We don't get that, but Cambodia and Vietnam is typically paid around the New Year, the 13th month, and it's a bonus paid. So I think I find that to be pretty interesting. If you fire for cause, you don't have to pay out the mandatory severance. But there is a remediation for it where you can pay a certain amount if it's not significant enough for dismissal. And if you fire someone who's pregnant or has recently given birth or got married or is about to be married, you actually may have to pay more for severance, which is pretty interesting. I mean, it seems like it's specifically focused on protecting women, which is great. I, I don't know if I mean like that's a very obviously in the United States it would just get you a lawsuit, right? I mean that's exactly what it could happen if something like that were to occur if you were to be fired right before you had a child. You can you can have you can do layoffs, of course, but employers are obliged to pay half the compensation based on seniority. And you have to do, just like the WARN Act, there's a crisis procedure that if for objective, if dismissals for objective reasons affect more than 15% of the payroll, again, that's very similar to the WARN Act. In the United States, we have similar rules surrounding this. With the WARN Act, you have to have at least 100 or more employees in the last 12 months. And if so, if you're letting go of more than 50 or more employees at a single site of employment, you have to give a notice of at least 60 days. And so there is a percentage function as well that I can't quite find right now, but there is a percentage function for the WARN Act. And that's what you're seeing here. I think that that's interesting. It makes sense. You have to give notification to the proper authorities in order to execute. And then, of course, if the dismissals are based on the objective reasons affect fewer than the percentages, then you have to give the labor authority 10 days before the dismissals, as well as letting the union know that you're going to do that. That's pretty standard, but it's on a contractual basis in the United States. Assuming it doesn't fall under the WARN Act, you generally have to give notices to the union in the United States based on the collective bargaining agreement. So let me know what you think about this. This sounds Argentina very much sounds like a very reasonable place with respect to labor laws. It's much better than a lot of places. It's more protective than the United States, of course, but which is a really low bar. But it is still, it does seem to balance the employer and the employee reasonably. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.